Begin the show with this. A Texas jury has ordered conspiracy theorist Alex Jones to pay more than $4 million to the parents of a 6-year-old boy killed in the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. Now, Jones repeatedly made false claims that the attack was a hoax. The jury's decision marks the first time that the InfoWars host has been held financially liable for incorrect statements. That Texas jury must still decide, though, how much to award in punitive damages.
Yeah, and the grandparents of the 6-year-old at the center of today's verdict live in Northwest Arkansas. They actually spoke to 4029 today. We want to bring in 4029's Robert Suhr joining us in the newsroom with more on this. Robert.
Page David Lewis lost his grandson that fateful day at Sandy Hook and tells me while the financial gain, well, it'll certainly help his daughter, what we really need is education in the classroom to increase emotional intelligence. This is Jesse Heslin, one of 20 children and 6 staff members killed in the Sandy Hook massacre back in 2012. Talk show host and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones claimed for years that the whole incident was fake and the victims were actually actors. In court, Jesse's parents blasted Jones from the stand.
Jesse was real. I am a real mom. There's nothing out there, nothing. There's records of Jesse's birth, of me. I mean, I have a history, and there's nothing that you could have found because it doesn't exist, that I'm deep state. It's just not true.
Can't even describe the last 9.5 years of the living hell that I and others have had to endure because of the negligence and the recklessness of Alex Jones.
In response to Jesse's death, his mother started the Choose Love movement with the goal of increasing emotional intelligence education in our schools. I sat down with Jesse's grandfather, David, a Fayetteville native. He tells me kids need to be taught how to forgive and not get even with violence.
If we teach kids to be emotionally intelligent, this won't happen. They will not be fearful, and they will be able to overcome these difficulties.
He adds it's all about teaching kids, while they're young, not to get trapped in the pattern of feeding off their emotions, because that's when tragedy strikes.
There were a lot of educators that came together to write this curriculum, all aimed at the idea that I can always choose love. In any circumstance, I can choose love instead of fear. And fear is anger, fear is emotional distress, love is the opposite. And you can teach kids how they can react that way and even how the brain works when you get stimulus that might make you react with fear, and how that you can take that, if you're thinking about it, and put it to the frontal cortex and make sense out of this instead of an immediate reaction.
I asked David what he feels towards Alex Jones, and he tells me he's not angry at the things he said to millions of listeners. He just feels sorry for him. Anytime
somebody projects their own lack of emotional intelligence or their own anger at me, I don't want it. I don't want to buy into it. And so I make the decision not to do that. And it's a choice for peace for me. I could be mad at Alex Jones forever. I could carry that weight on my back, but I don't want to do that. It doesn't make sense for me.
Now, guys, officially the family was awarded $4.1 million today, money that David tells me his daughter will most likely use toward growing the Choose Love organization. Now, tomorrow, jurors will decide if Jones owes additional punitive damages on top of what he was already ordered to pay today. In the newsroom, Robert Suhr, 4029 News.
Some words of wisdom from that man.
I had a powerful interview by Robert Suhr there, but